Okay, so for part one, we opened a OIB file and we exported it as an ome.tif and got around the error, and that was the basic starting point. And what I've done is I've opened up a Z stack and I've also exported it as an ome.tif and exporting Z here. And so these are following the same thing we did in part one. I just want to show what it looks like when you open it up with Fiji just by dragging and dropping. We're going to drag and drop that one, and we're left with this data set here, and it looks as it should. Each one is in order. But if we do the same thing for the Z stack, we end up with a data set where everything is in order, but it's not organized with Z. So it alternates through every Z, each channel Z, and channel Z in one continuous kind of slider, which is not what we need to do. So I'm going to keep that one open for the moment. Let's get rid of the 2D one. What we really should do for importing the OME files is use the importer and go ahead and select from there, and that will present us with the bioformats window, and then we can go ahead and import that file. It's an Olympus file for the import, and like some of these other files, you end up with an interesting color scale. And just as an aside, I'm going to pull in a macro here that we've mentioned in the simple macro tutorials. You can go ahead and run that, and it will set the color scale, set the saturation, and do an overlay for you. So you can, don't forget to use those. They're nice and easy to make things more simple. And so now what we're going to do is look at the metadata in each one of these, and they've been brought in different ways. So you can use from the menu, but we've got Control and I, which is the shortcut for this one here. And this is the drag and drop version. And we click on that one, we can get the metadata from this version. And the metadata looks somewhat different for each one. Let's just make a little bit of space here so we can see some more. And so you get a breakdown of some information about the size, pixel size, and data type, and a few other things in each one. But you'll notice that this one has an XML description across the top, and if you look at the width of the slider, you can see that XML just goes on for a long way. So there's more data in the metadata than you would expect with the OME if you open it with the drag and drop. So this is kind of good to know, because sometimes you want to get back to some of that information. So if you click on that top one, I didn't mean to double click. If you click on that top one and copy, and go ahead and use something like Visual Studio Code. If you don't have Visual Studio Code, you should go and get it as a cross format. And you can paste that in there. I can shortcut just to wrap it with Alt and Z. I'm going to tell it it's an XML file, and then right click and format document. And then I'm presented with a nice clean XML breakdown of what the file contains. Some of it is redundant. There's lots of information about where the data lives, in terms of these different planes and channels, but there's some extra information within this XML that can be of use. You have this information about emissions and light source, and a few other different things that you may not get. Here's some dichroic information that you may not get in the metadata that you have when you pull it in using the import. So that's something else to consider with the OMEs. There's all the data is there in this XML, but it's not always as obvious to find. So what we're going to do in the next one is we're going to go ahead and automate that. I mean, it's all very good just to do drag and drop and click and go through it manually, but what we want to do is take that folder and convert everything that we want into ome.tif to then be imported into a different application. We don't want to do it manually.